My daughter used to call me every Sunday at exactly 8 o'clock. She said it didn't matter how busy life became, because Sunday mornings belonged to family. For years, my phone rang before I even poured my first cup of coffee. We'd talk about work, about the weather, about the old maple tree in my backyard that somehow survived every winter. Sometimes we talked about nothing at all. Looking back now, I realize those ordinary conversations were the richest part of my life. You never think simple moments are becoming memories until they stop happening. The last Sunday she called was almost 3 years ago. I didn't know it would be the last. If I had, I would have stayed on the phone a little longer. My name is Michael Carter. I'm 62 years old, and I spent 35 years working as a firefighter in Columbus, Ohio. People often thanked me for running into burning buildings, but the truth is, I was never the brave one. The brave people were always waiting outside, praying that someone they loved would come home. Every shift taught me that life could change in a single minute. What nobody tells you is that families can also fall apart one quiet conversation at a time. Without a single raised voice. I raised only one child, my daughter, Emily. Her mother, Sarah, used to say Emily smiled before she could even walk. She had this habit of laughing whenever someone else laughed, even if she didn't understand the joke. Our house always felt lighter because of her. On weekends, she'd follow me around the garage, pretending to fix things with a plastic toy wrench. She'd point at the lawnmower and tell me she was the boss while I was only her assistant. I'd salute her like she was the captain of the whole neighborhood, and she'd laugh so hard she'd almost fall over. Those memories still live in that garage. The toy wrench is still hanging on the same nail where she left it when she was 9 years old. I never had the heart to move it. When Emily turned 13, life handed us something no family is ever ready for. Sarah was diagnosed with cancer. We fought it together for almost 4 years. She never complained in front of Emily, even on the days when standing up was painful. She'd still ask how school went and remind Emily to finish her homework. She wanted our daughter to remember strength, not sickness. The night before Sarah passed away, she asked me to promise her one thing. She squeezed my hand and whispered, "Don't let Emily grow up thinking she lost both parents." I promised. I meant every word. For the next decade, everything I did was for my daughter. I learned how to cook meals that didn't come from a frozen box. I figured out how to braid hair after watching online tutorials more times than I'd ever admit. I attended every school play, every graduation ceremony, every birthday party. Sometimes I embarrassed her by cheering too loudly, but she always laughed afterward and hugged me anyway. People used to tell me she looked just like her mother. I always answered the same way. I hope she grows up with her mother's heart. She did, at least for a while. Emily graduated from Ohio State with a degree in marketing. The day she crossed that stage, I cried harder than I did at my own wedding. She laughed when she saw me wiping my eyes and told everyone I was the emotional one in the family. Maybe I was. She accepted a position at one of the biggest luxury real estate firms in the city. It was a world completely different from mine. Expensive suits, million-dollar homes, business dinners, charity galas. The people around her spoke about investments and private clubs with the same ease. I talked about smoke alarms and fire hydrants. I was proud of her. More proud than words could ever explain. The first few months, nothing changed between us. She still came over for Sunday breakfast. She still asked me to make my terrible pancakes. She still called me Dad. Then, she met Richard Bennett. The first time I heard his name, it didn't mean anything to me. Emily mentioned him during one of our Sunday breakfasts. She said he was successful, generous, and incredibly intelligent. She smiled more than usual while talking about him, and I figured she'd finally met someone who made her happy. That's all any father really wants. A few weeks later, she invited me to dinner so I could meet him. I arrived 10 minutes early, just like I always do. Old habits from the fire department never leave you. Richard pulled into the restaurant parking lot in a black Bentley that probably cost more than my first house. He stepped out wearing a tailored navy suit and smiled like he'd practiced that smile in a mirror for years. He shook my hand firmly. "Mr. Carter," he said, "Emily has told me so much about you." His voice was smooth, confident, the kind of voice people trust before they've asked a single question. Dinner started pleasantly enough. Richard ordered an expensive bottle of wine without even looking at the price. I quietly ordered iced tea. Emily spent most of the evening listening to Richard tell stories about business deals, luxury vacations, and the people he knew. Every story ended with someone shaking his hand or thanking him for changing their lives. When the waiter asked if we wanted dessert, Richard smiled at Emily and said, "You know, successful people don't celebrate achievements. They celebrate discipline." Emily laughed. "I've been learning that." Something about those words stayed with me during the drive home, not because they were offensive, but because they didn't sound like my daughter. Emily used to celebrate everything: a new job, a good grade, finding $5 in an old jacket. She believed happiness came from appreciating small things. Now, she was talking about discipline, like it was more important than joy. Over the next year, our Sunday breakfasts slowly disappeared. First it became every other week, then once a month, then only on holidays. Whenever I called, she'd apologize and tell me she and Richard already had plans: business dinners, weekend trips, networking events. I understood she was building a career. I just didn't realize someone else was quietly replacing my place in her life. The first sign came during a charity banquet nearly 18 months after they started dating. I wasn't supposed to hear it. I had stepped away to answer a phone call when I noticed Emily across the room introducing Richard to one of her co-workers. She smiled proudly and said, "This is Richard. He's been more of a father to me than anyone else." I stood frozen behind a marble column only 20 feet away. She never saw me. Richard placed a gentle hand on her shoulder and smiled without correcting her. That single sentence hurt more than every burn, broken bone, and injury I'd suffered during 35 years as a firefighter. Not because another man had earned her respect, but because I never knew I'd lost it. I went home that night without calling Emily. I must have picked up my phone a dozen times before setting it back down on the kitchen table. Every parent reaches a moment when they wonder if they're overreacting. I convinced myself maybe I'd misunderstood what I'd heard. Maybe there was more to the conversation. Maybe she'd explain it the next time we talked. She never did.